When I say to people that I don't keep plain colour chunky yarn because 2 strands of double knitting together is your chunky yarn, I sometimes think they don't quite believe me. And unless you actually see somebody doing it, you don't realise how simple it is. So today I'm going to show you how to get 2 strands of double knitting together to make your chunky weight yarn, and it really is very simple, honest.
Down a little alley in the heart of Kendal town is a tiny independent yarn shop. Welcome to the wonderful world of the kitten and the goat.
The first thing you're going to need, obviously, is double knitting yarn. 6mm needles is what you work chunky on. And you're going to need to have 2 strands of your double knitting together. If you're new to this, you might find it more useful to unwind half the ball so you've got 2 separate balls and then hold them together. I fish out from the middle and use 1 ball together at the same time. The thing to remember is, just because you're using it double to make it thicker, you don't need extra double knitting, because the double knitting is half the thickness. You get twice the length. So when you double it up, a ball of chunky and a ball of double knitting, give or take, are pretty much the same thing. Okay. I've taken off a load and ready put it together. Normally I just let it bounce across the floor, but I'm working in a tiny little space on my desk. There's no magic, there's no trick. Make a slip knot. Like that. I'm just going to cast on a few because you don't want to see me casting on for hours on end. You might notice I've got a new stand to put my camera on so that we have a slightly better view, but I haven't sorted out the back business yet. Never mind, I knit. I'm not a videographer, whatever it is. Now then, just put it through your hands the way you normally do. In, through, round, you've cast 1 on. Through both sides, round, you've cast 1 on. And you've cast 1 on. It can be a little tricky to count them if you've got a lot of stitches on your needle, so what I tend to do is count them as I go along if I'm doing a lot. Pretend that's how many you want to cast on. When you go back, you knit into the stitch. The first row can be a little tricky. You might have to look for your needles. No, we're going to start that again because that's crap. Okay, we will pretend we've cast on what we need to do, and then when we knit through both, The first row you might find a little tricky because you have to find your stitch and put it through. Do a purl? Let's do a purl. Yarn to the front, work a purl. So I'm not actually doing anything with the yarn. It's just sat there together in my hands, and it goes around the needle together to do that. Right, let's pretend we've got to the end of the row. Once you've got your first row on and anchored, when you turn it round, you will see very clearly that each little stitch sits in its space. So you don't actually have to go looking for the stitches anymore. It's right there in front of you. So we knit, we knit, we knit. You see how easy that is? See, and it's just there, right there together. Oops, split that one. Once you get yourself going, and when you've done it, you can't see it. You wouldn't look at that and say, oh, that looks odd, I can see two different strands in it. It just is what it is. Here's one. Here's the one I finished. This is all two strands together to make the chunky weight. You can't see it's any different. So there you go. You can mix, you can do two strands the same, you can mix two strands slightly different colours, you can mix two dramatically different colours. You can get some amazing colour effects playing. So there you go. Now you can use all up you use up all your scraps in your stash making chunky yarns.